to the mysteries and enigmas about the Nazca Lines, a unique discovery has now been added, hidden beneath its soils for centuries. Several humanoid-looking mummies in perfect condition were found a few months ago in Nazca, southern Peru. It was a unique discovery that, if confirmed and made public, could change the history of evolution and challenge science. This is the first time that a discovery of this type has been made available to people around the world, after careful journalistic investigation and without the filter of official entities. My name is Uwai Mantila. I'm not a ufologist or a researcher of similar topics. I have simply been an exceptional witness in this case, and this is my journalistic version regarding the expedition that brought together scientists and experts of different subjects and of various nationalities who came here with the desire to investigate, also to denounce any fraud if necessary that there was, but above all motivated and united by the desire to answer all reasonable questions regarding this extraordinary discovery. Thierry Jamin is a French-Peruvian archaeologist and geographer based in Cusco. He presides over Incari with the support of Peruvians Jose Casafranca and Eduard Valenzuela. Incari carries out archaeological research with permits from the Ministry of Culture. More than 15 years ago, some tomb hunters known as Huaqueros arrived at the headquarters of Incari, wanting to decipher the authenticity of some strange-looking mummified bodies found while excavating near the Nazca Lines. These pieces were loaned to Incari, and they immediately sought the opinion of radiologists and doctors to rule out any fraud and try to identify their origin.
What we see, and I see the X-ray, that this good a human being is not.
If we see the spine, we see joints. The joint at the level of the hand and forearm attracts me greatly.
Is he a real being for you? Isn't it a fraud? Not at all. Isn't he fabricated? No, not at all. It is impossible for something with a perfect structure to be put together.
With the first indications in January 2017, Thierry Jamin did what had to be done, notifying the Ministry of Culture of the discovery in detail through a letter addressed to the then-head Jorge Nieto. Months passed and Jamin put together a crowdfunding project on the web to carry out his research, receiving the support of thousands of internet users. In April, Alien Project draws the attention of expert journalist Jaime Mawson. Forged in the hectic Mexican news industry and for decades a controversial disseminator of the so-called UFO phenomenon, technology and ecological issues, Mawson convinces executives of the American television station Gaia to join forces in financing. And so an expedition was put together, the Peru Project. The expedition begins with the article to Cusco at the end of April 2017. The team was made up of experts from 5 nations trained in biology, forensic medicine, physical anthropology, archaeology, as well as 2 fellow journalists, executives, and cameramen, interested in verifying the veracity of the findings and disseminating them. We headed to the Incari Institute. Thierry Jamin and his team welcomed us, and after a brief preamble, proceeded to present us with the small mummies and pieces found by the tomb hunter, whom it was agreed to identify with the pseudonym Mario.
Mario is the person who is dedicated to the search for trafficking, we speak frankly, trafficking of pre-Columbian objects. I believe that this story is going to change many things. And then we can see it.
The expected moment had arrived, and these are the impressions of the team of experts when seeing the first 3-fingered hands with non-magnetic metal implants.
This is the hand.
From here, I know.
They have sent samples 3, 4, 5, 6.
One thing that catches my attention, like the other corpses, is the skin. The type of skin it has is the same as that of the other corpses of this Visateo type.
being able to put together something like that hardly. You cannot join a skin that you have already lifted from another body to put on a body that you are going to assemble.
Yes, muscle tissue is seen, but unlike what is in humans, muscle tissue in humans surrounds the bone and follows the continuity of the bone. And here you can see that it is only superimposed on the bone. This means that it only had a function of flexion and extension and not rotation or grasping, but rather it was only for flexing and extending and not covering as exists in a primate hand here on Earth. It is very interesting to see that it has 6 phalanges. We only have 1, 2, 3. It's twice as many of us. Very interesting.
And it is the length of the fingers. I could have solved the theater. Take something from the opposite finger, reaching practically.
They no longer need to be wrapped because they, for example, do not have the function of recumbent rays.
In Costa Rica, you have seen the sleepy bears, how they turn around.
2 dried heads of a bipedal species with unique features and brain remains inside were then inspected.
One detail that we had observed regarding these bodies is the hole, but it is not round as we can see in other beings, other terrestrial species. Here we see a square or rectangular candle hole.
It has a very small jaw and no mandibular joint, that is, it is almost an oral cavity for swallowing and not for chewing.
So definitely this is a skull because it's impossible to fabricate something like this because it is perfect.
It is a species that we do not know what its evolution has been.
This is primate.
This is primate. That is, if it was something normal, terrestrial and known, it would be very similar to this. But it is similar in nothing more than the ovoid spherical structure of brain content. This comparison is good, it is very good, very, very good, because there we started from something.
Wait, we have complete multiple species.
The surprise would increase. Now we were faced with specimens of complete bipedal beings.
It seems that it had a retractable neck, like in the Spielberg film.
And in this being, we can find joints in upper limbs, such as the elbows, and in lower limbs at the same time, such as joints in the hip. Yes, this face looks more feminine.
Slight inflammation or swelling in the belly at the level of the hips.
The only way to describe this would be with an X-ray. We'll do it tomorrow.
5:30, I think it would be very difficult to make a fraud. I would like to know what's inside. It will be interesting to know what there is. If it is a fetus, how can fraud be done with a fetus? It would be crazy.
We can see, for example, with the naked eye that this one here has a shorter cervical region and in this other one a slightly more elongated cervical region.
If they have been alive, they are organized. That do not have a currently known evaluation or biological determination. We would be talking about probable species that until now we have not been able to find, describe or define. It would be a magnificent, unique find.
At the same time, we can see what the joints are, what the spinal column would be, and we can appreciate anatomical details such as what the spinous processes would be in the joint that we also have. If we touch the back of the spine, we find these knuckles, which are the spinous processes of the spine.
It has no human characteristics, although it shares similarities. This makes it anthropomorphically humanoid in type. Assuming that this were false, knowledge of the anatomy, of the anatomical parts, of the muscle and tendon fibers, of the presence of joints, and of the necessary bone consistency is very difficult to have been achieved in a simple way. False. They are most likely not mammals because they do not have or cannot see the surface of the mammary gland in any of the probable or known anatomical parts. However, in this specimen, which is better preserved, there is a metal structure that could cover where mammary glands would be found. Determine whether or not they are mammals. I would lean, because they are not mammals but rather have more characteristics, towards reptilian type organisms. Do they look like humans? Yes, but they are not human. They are tridactyl, both upper and lower. The type of elongated skull, the size of the orbital fossae are more consistent with anatomical structures of a reptile type than a mammal. Especially in the hip, because we have iliac crests in both, but we do not have a pubic bone that joins them. This is a primate characteristic, just like the 5 primate fingers, which we do not see here, but it does coincide with the anatomical structures of some reptiles. The ideal would be to take them to forensic scientific laboratories with more in-depth technology and equipment. It is an extraordinary fact. It could change history. It is an opportunity for science and humanity to open minds and open borders, expand borders.
Now, what is missing is a radiological analysis, and I plan to be present at the Are we ready to take the x-rays?
We are ready. Doctors can tell if these bodies have been staged or if they are real mummified bodies. If it is a fraud, we are going to report it and perhaps prosecute this matter because people know us, we have a reputation, and we have taken a lot of risks too. If it is a real authentic case, this information must be disseminated because it is information of universal significance.
In both projections, first the upper one and then the lower one.
Correct.
We retire to the room, please.
Well, the time has come. We are now in the X-ray center, and we are witnessing that the pieces that have been seen previously are indeed the ones that are being X-rayed and subjected to these analyses. This is the one with the bulge in the belly.
Exactly in the pelvic region. I hope it is a great trip, that it is a gestation. They imagine.
Where it is seen. We are getting into the dark room simply to verify that the procedure is as it has traditionally been done. The background sound is the process that at this moment with the beep has just finished. We're already out.
We are seeing.
like an egg, he says.
I would have 3. This looks like egg. Look what a metal is.
Incredible.
A metal does not allow us to see what is behind the bone that is behind. And in these 3, wow.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Incredible. 3 eggs. Wow.
This is metal, a metal that does not allow us to observe the bone pieces that is located behind. This metal is found in the chest of the object. We found 3 ovoid type structures, and these ovoid type structures do allow us to see the back, the bone consistency of what this is determines that they are translucent. Being translucent, they are consistent with an egg-type organic substance. We have 3 eggs here, probably gestating.
Phenomenal. Incredible. Incredible.
Is he then some kind of humanoid?
It is not a mammal.
The presence of eggs allows us rule out that this is a human species. It makes us think more of a species of reptile, right?
Exactly.
For eggs.
Clear.
Definitely, definitely.
This story becomes even more incredible every day.
Completed X-rays through an analog time machine, not digital development. We can definitively verify that this does not belong to any known human species. It has 3 egg formations. This gives a lot of credibility to the issue of the beings that have been found in this southern part of our country.
Definitely the fact of having a species of which we confirm through scientific analysis that it does not correspond to a living species, to a species in common with ours. We are talking about something that did not evolve here that is important, and that marks an important and transcendental point in the history of humanity.
What can you tell us about the plate?
Well, reviewing the radiographic plate in this lateral projection, we can see the part of the skull, which is effectively a skull with 2 important anatomical areas. One would be the bones of the face, which can be seen here, and the bones of the cranial vault, which would be the cranial vault. Then we can find in the bones of the hand, we can find what the phalanges are, 3 phalanges and absence of carpal bones, just like in the other bones. In the other samples, there is a metallic implant effectively in the anterior thorax and in the radio image.
Lateral image, we can see that this plaque is superficial to the anterior thorax. It does not penetrate tissue.
In your forensic experience, what impression has this left on you?
I have seen many corpses, many human bone structures, and they do not look alike at all. It has specific characteristics that make it unique and totally different from a human being. The arrangement of the vertebrae with the probable ribs, the unions and correspondences of the bones in their joints is very difficult to supplant or very difficult to falsify. Truth is that it has all the biomechanical and anatomical characteristics to be original.
All the support that has been given from the analysis by forensic medical specialists tells us that this is genuine, it is real. Through what I observed, what I analyzed, I attest that this is genuine.
Phenotypically, it makes me think that it is a creature, a being that had life, yes, and that it is of natural origin, not manufacturing. We are facing a being that we currently do not have registered or documented within science. Third, it is a bipedal being with phenotypic characteristics similar to humans, of a humanoid type, but that have nothing to do with a human being as we know it today, or in the evolution that we have recorded of the human being coming from a primate. Mammal.
The Mexican biologist Jose Rios was able to determine that the measurements of those bodies, which were identified as Josefina and Alberto, as well as the two heads, have phenotypic characteristics corresponding to the same species, which has been called a humanoid reptile. These specimens measure between 58 and 60 cm, have 3 fingers on the upper and lower extremities, a macrocephalic head elongated backwards without hair, without nasal septum or pinna. Their neck is retractable and the female has a transverse cloacal opening between the legs. Its apparent reproduction is through eggs, and it still has internal organs such as the brain. Its anatomical structure does not have a patella, it does not have a radius, ulna or carpal bones, nor mammary glands. The carbon-14 test carried out on one of the series reveals an age of 700 approximate years. Furthermore, it is a species that I would not have, a biological ancestor known to science. These bodies were delivered on loan to the Inkari Institute for the period. Let the investigations and scientific studies last. Once completed, were they delivered to their discoverer?
Yeah, it requires that we be able to adapt it to the environments in which it was found, replicate the environments in which it was found, to continue maintaining the consistency of the specimen. Otherwise, the environment will degrade very quickly.
Care must always be taken when handling these samples. It is appropriate for it to be studied, as the doctor says, in a laboratory with all the instruments to be able to carry out a more complex study.
We are talking about something that does not evolve here, that is important, and that comes to mark an important and transcendental point in the history of humanity.
And then do we have a parallelism of species, or are we facing something out of what is known on this planet?
It's an incredible story. We have all the objective elements that show that something is happening in Peru.
This is the most extraordinary story that I have had to investigate, because it is physical evidence, and because so far none of the analyzers of the physical evidence have shown that it is not a legitimate, authentic finding.
This was just the first meeting. The source of these findings had for us another mummy more similar to humans, but with details never before seen in another mummified body revealed by archaeology or science. For this, we would have to return to Lima and wait for the discoverer to contact us from hiding at the moment and place you consider safe. In the next chapter, you will learn the details and conditions of the meeting. First analyses, X-ray images, tomography scans, expert analysis. Several countries and the discovery of unique fingerprints.